Hello and welcome back to the Psych Legal Pop Podcast. This is a
Hello.
Well, Amy, this is the Psych Legal Pop Podcast.
I've been holding that little Brooke hello for a while now.
So, as you probably figured out, I am Tess. I'm the therapist. My sister Brooke is not here. She's enjoying the 4th of July weekend. I am here with Miss Amye Archer from Little Miss Recap. Hello.
Hello.
And Murder She, is it Murder She Wrote? Murder She
Watched.
Murder She Watched. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is such a great title.
Thank you.
And I'm a fan of Murder She Wrote. I know people make fun of the show, but I enjoyed it.
I call it Murder She Wrote at least twice a week.
Yeah. Well, listen, if I could solve murders and mysteries in my small Maine town, I would be there in a heartbeat.
Absolutely.
So Amy's here today to talk about, and just like that, we are going to focus on, this is season 3, episode 6, Silent Mode. But you had reached out and said, I have to talk about the show. I have to talk about the show.
Yeah, but here's the thing. So I had to talk about it because it was so terrible. And then, of course, the week I'm coming on, they give us the best episode.
Oh, you thought that was the best. Okay.
I thought this episode was well done.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's on an In Just Like That scale.
Yes,
so
yes.
You can't put it up against like The Bear or anything like that. But I thought it was decent. I just... The way that this show and Michael Patrick King just treats Sarah Jessica Parker like she is the Meryl Streep of HBO Max. I don't understand it. I listened to the official podcast in preparation for this for one specific point, which I'll talk about later. And they just talk about her like she is God's gift.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, for those of you who used to watch Sex and the City, like, sure, Carrie was part of it, but she wasn't my favorite character. I don't know anyone who was like, Carrie's my favorite character on Sex and the City.
Or I'm a Carrie.
No, it was never. I'm a writer and I wasn't a Carrie because she was so annoying. It was like, I was definitely a Charlotte. Like, it's absolutely, it's an inflated sense of something. And I don't know if it's coming from SJP herself. Or if Michael Patrick King just fell in love with her and decided to elevate her to this level.
Well, I've talked about this a little bit before because a good friend of mine dated Ron Livingston, who played Berger.
Yes.
And so she told me a lot of the backstage stuff. And she did say that he is very, like, everything's about SJP. Like, that there was a lot of love and enamored. Okay. So Brooke and I talked about this last time. We were listening to Howard Stern, and
she doesn't watch the show.
Yes. And we were like, what? You don't watch the show? So suddenly it all made sense because Aidan licking his hand was the most disturbing thing I've ever seen in my entire life, short of like Cody Brown and the licking of the ice cream cone.
Can John Corbett act? Yes, right?
Yes, he can. I do believe he is a good actor. I do like him. I hate what they're doing to Aidan because it doesn't feel quite like Aidan.
No.
It's you know what it is? It's at some point all men on the show have to be humiliated. And because the women are humiliated, but we understand them and know them so much better, so we don't see it that way. With the men, it's harder. It's like when you humiliate them, you really humiliate them. You really,
you know what it is too. I think this episode stands out against the others because it has less funny in it. They have a hard time writing comedy. It comes off as corny. It comes off as dumb.
It's Catskills. That's what I said. It's like Henny Youngman.
Yes.
And all of that. And I think that this is this is the difference between gay men and straight women, which is this, all the stuff with Anthony and Giuseppe and the baguettes and no woman in line for bread is going to be staring at Giuseppe's crotch. Especially a woman in like her 50s, 60s. Like, we are not gay men. We do not want.
Thank you for bringing this up.
Because this isn't what we want.
Thank you for bringing this up. I recently spoke about this on one of my episodes. I said, there's a small percent, not all, but there is a small percentage of gay men who think they know the world through a woman's eye because they're not a cisgendered, toxic, masculine male. they're still two different things. Women are not gay men. Like, there is still a difference in moving through the world as a woman.
Yes.
That men can't write. Yes. And Michael Patrick King is doing that. You're right. Like, I don't know. Like, if I were at the bread place and I saw it, I might like, ha ha ha, Tess, look at that guy. You know what I mean? Whatever. But I wouldn't be so like enamored with this guy's penis that I can't even remember where I am and I can't order bread. Yes. It's wild to me.
Yes. No, because absolutely. Because I think I've seen that in real life before. I remember it distinctly at Starbucks. And it's like you literally go, oh my God. And you look away. You don't stare. Right. That's not how we operate. So all of that is so Michael Patrick King. Like some of these jokes, and then on the companion podcast, he of course has to repeat them all like again to tell us how genius he is.
Yeah, like he wanted. Are you right? Did you listen? You listened this week?
Yes,
right?
I did. I do every time I say I'm not going to, and then I do.
He wanted Tess to put Aidan in the short suit so that his pants would split, so that people understood. These are the trials and tribulations of being a couple. What? This is like Robin Brown with her "My Sister Wives Closet" philosophy, which makes zero sense. You're like, what are you even talking about? Yeah, it's so weird.
Well, because the thing is the base of what he was saying was in relationships, there are these heavy things and there are these light things. And and I think one of the women actually said this about long-term relationships. And you and I have both been married a long time. So we understand this, where you can be fighting with your partner and mad or, trying to figure something out. And then a couple hours later, you have to do something. Something happens and the two of you are laughing about it. Like, that is marriage. But why does it have to be that he's wearing short pants and splitting his pants? Like,
right, he already threw the rock through the window. Yeah. That was the funny moment.
Yeah.
Now he's just a buffoon. He's having these funny moments all the time.
Yes. And so that's the part of it that's kind of like, why did we need? Yes, we needed to see some sort of intimacy, some laughter, some like, we're still in this section. But there's so many things that it could have been versus this. And so it's always shocking to me the things that they pick. So the biggest thing that I have to talk about is this 5-year thing. Okay. So again, everybody last season, we were all like, what? 5 years. And any parent is also kind of like 5 years. I have a kid who is not as bad as Wyatt in the sense, like, my son's never broken a window and raged out, but I have a kid who struggles with anxiety, depression. Yeah. I have been in those situations where he's like, oh no, I'm not going. Yeah. I'm not going. And more than once. And I've paid for so much stuff that never went to, like, all of that. I understand all of those pieces of that. But like this 5-year, like, why did they have to attach this number to it? It is the weirdest thing, because if they had, I keep saying this, but if he just said, wait for me, and she said, okay, then all of this vagueness makes sense. Before,
right, and the timeline would be implied. Yes. Like, Carrie might be thinking in her mind, because I know people who have done this, who've been in relationships with people who have kids, and I actually have a very close friend who's dating somebody whose partner has 3 children. They're 13, 15, 17, somewhere like that. And I keep saying to her, like, it will, you guys will be able to see each other more, and it'll get better once the kids are older. But like, what does older mean? Like, I also know as a parent that my kids are 18. I'm giving them more money now than I ever have, and I'm spending more money now than I ever have. But like, it's this idea that, so on the Writers Room podcast, they were saying that it was a knee-jerk reaction to this trauma in his family, which I totally get. But it's been like 6 months now. Yeah. Does he acknowledge that, like, when they had that conversation about the phone calls and the communication, maybe then he could have said, 5 years is a rudimentary, ridiculous number. Let's just wait until Wyatt's in a better place. Yeah. Like, is settled. I don't want to make it sound like he dies. Not a better place. Although that character, I might need to see him go there.
Oh, poor
Wyatt.
But
like, if he was just like, let me just get him settled. Yeah. And then for him to sleep with Kathy, I'll save that. But whoa.
Well, yeah. And I think too, because what we're seeing here is an interesting dynamic, which is you have someone who has children and someone who doesn't have children. And I'm sure you have friends who don't have kids. Yep. And and again, it's not a superior thing that, like, I feel so much better that I have kids, but it's a little bit like again, if you've not lived it, you don't quite understand it. And so so I wish this idea of Carrie trying to figure out, like, how do I fit into all this? That's really interesting, because that is much more of like where she is in her life and who she would be dating.
Yeah.
She would be dating a divorced dad of kids this age, and all of that makes complete sense. But making him so right with the 5 years, and then he's coming back and, wants phone sex and licking his paw.
It should have just been like, I can't have a relationship with, like, why are the writers so hung up on putting these two together? I have no idea.
I know.
It's dumb. But they could have just been like, he could have said, and I think any parent in his position would have said, I don't have time for this right now.
Yeah.
My kid needs me. I don't know when I'll be around. Like, you're free to go do what you need to do. I got to do what I got to do. If it works out in the end, fine.
Yeah.
But like, this whole, and I interpreted it as wait for me, meaning wait for me. Like, don't bang anybody else. Don't do anything else.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. And I don't know if I would have even known if it was this way or that way. I mean, again, I think that's the part that you're just like, these are adults, right? These are adults. You guys have not stopped once to like ask yourself, are we supposed to sleep with other people or not? Or
no, and she's sitting up there in this townhouse writing him postcards. Are you serious right now?
Yes.
And suddenly Carrie's just like all cool with this. Like, she had the entire Sex and the City series was dedicated to Carrie trying to find a decent man who met her needs. And now she's just like, well, if my boyfriend writes me a postcard once in a while, I'm good. What?
Yeah.
It's so wild.
Yeah. And so again, I think that the underlying thing underneath that, which is this idea of how do we mature and how do we mature in relationships? Because, right, I mean, I can think of myself in my 20s seeing that romantic love and believing that this is it. And I now in my 50s, I'll say, like, yeah, okay, people cheat. Like, hey, things happen. Like,
I thought her being okay with the cheating was reasonable. I agree with you.
And I think that, again, that's interesting. That's interesting about how you can, because we've known these characters so long, how you can mature. You can say, this, not everything is dramatic. Not everything, things happen. And I think all of that makes a lot of sense. But again, the way in which they do it, like, that's really what it is. It's like the premises are good. They're good. They're there. You have got good actors. You've got good stuff here. But why is it that it always feels slightly off?
Yeah, the writing is terrible. That's why it feels slightly off. They're doing an injustice to the Meryl Streep of our time, Carrie Bradshaw here, Sarah Jessica Parker.
Yes. All right. So tell me, is there anything else that you want to talk about that's happened episodes 1 through 5 before we dig into 6?
Yes, I did want to talk about something from season 1.
Oh, okay.
Well, this is relevant because in season 1, episode 2, Charlotte is upset and LTW comes over and says, I know how you feel about your loss. I felt the same way when my father died last year. Okay. Then he rises from the dead in season 2, and he is there. Is it Carl Weathers who plays him? Yeah, right?
I thought it was Billy D. Williams.
Billy D. Williams.
And I was like, who kills off Billy D. Williams?
Yeah, and so now they killed him off again. So I listened to the writer's room to see if they were going to address this, and they didn't. And it's all over the internet now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't.
So they've killed LTW's father twice.
Well, and what's crazy about that too, when you listen to Sarah Jessica Parker on Howard Stern talking about the show, is how detail oriented they are. She talks about how, like, oh yeah, next scene we're going to remove this book. Carrie wouldn't be reading this book, and then you have to dog ear it, and that this would be like this, and then we're going to put this here, and like all these small little details, and then you hear something like that, and it's like, huh? You guys are so fixated, and you talk about how much time and effort and energy you put into it that you're kind of like, huh, that's a big continuity problem. And there is someone who is the script supervisor, who's a continuity person, that's sole job is to make sure that things make sense.
Well, they missed this big one. And so people were like, well, maybe she had 2 fathers, but that's not the case either, because she references the father was with the mother at some point. So I don't know. I'm like, maybe that was a stepfather. Like, I'm trying to find something here to make it make sense. But MPK doesn't address any of this. So.
Yeah, no,
because he doesn't have to.
The funny thing too is Brooks always gets so frustrated. She like me, she'll listen to the companion podcast like out of like anger and spite. And she was talking about how last time the episode was written by, I think, Julie and directed by Elisa. And she's like, he did not let either of these women speak at all. That's the other part of it too, is he directs some episodes, and I can understand you want to talk, but like there are episodes that he basically is just sort of there. He's an executive producer, maybe he's in the editing room, but he's got very little to do with it. And he's talking over all of these women. And it's just, and that's frustrating.
I agree. And the way that these women just act like every word out of his mouth is hilarious.
Yes. Ugh.
I'm like, are we listening to the same thing?
No.
I need these people in my life.
Yeah, it's a lot of people that drank a lot of Kool-Aid. And and there are these weird things. I've been part of these things where everybody's drunk the Kool-Aid of each other and everyone's great. And I'm always like, that's a cult. Like, you know, and again, because Sarah Jessica doesn't watch the show, there's no checks and balances. Like, it was like, oh, now everything makes sense. Everything makes sense because the people that actually have control are not doing anything. And so, of course, she could stop this. She could. And it's a little bit like,
where's Darren Star?
I think he is
he
gone. I think he is no. He's alive, but I think he's gone. But there, he references Michael Patrick King references John Melfi, who's been a longtime producer on the show, being someone who's like 5 years. Who the fuck is doing 5 years?
Well, listen to him.
Oh my God, finally, good. Someone, thank God, you have somebody, but you're
Darren
not
Star was like, I'm off. I'm off this train wreck. I'm out.
Yeah. So it's a lot. Well, let's dig into silent mode. But we have already touched upon some of these things. We usually save the Carrie stuff for last. Let's start with Sema, because I have a lot of feelings about the Sema stuff.
You mean fake Samantha?
Fake Samantha. So the problem is, and I've said this actress is a very good actress. I'm not judging her acting.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's like she is a weird version of Samantha. I'm sorry, everyone's going to keep making that comparison. Why are you doing this? Because you know everyone's going to make that comparison. And quite frankly, what we're seeing with this show is how much Kim Cattrall really, really provided a lot. She really did.
Yes.
And
did you see the interview with her where she's with somebody and they were like, maybe she's with Piers Morgan?
I've heard
and he's
a little
like,
bit about this.
What do you, why aren't you and Just Like That and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, well, maybe Sarah Jessica Parker should have been nicer. I was like, whoa. More on that, please. Leaning in.
Yeah, and I get the sense that I think that the Cynthia Nixon and Kristen Davis, I think, are very much team Sarah Jessica Parker, and I think it was her way or the highway, and I'm sure that Kim Cattrall had some feelings about it. Yeah. And and that also tells you something too, why you're a producer on the show, Sarah Jessica Parker. You're a producer. So not only should you be watching the show, you need to have a relationship and figure out how to work with these people.
Yes.
Not be a diva, lead actress.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but anyway, Samantha, but this whole thing, Brooke and I were talking about this before, of how insane this entire situation is. You are a very established person. So does this mean that this guy sells this business out from under you? You have no legal recourse. You have no nothing. You've saved no money.
Her name is on the building, correct?
Yes, it's Proust and Patel.
Yeah. I mean, I've watched enough Mad Men to know you can't do this kind of shit.
It makes no sense.
The name on the building comes with a partnership, which comes with certain things.
Yes, and a guarantee that you would be informed if at all. You know what it takes to make a deal like this happen? A long time.
You know what the writers could have done if they wanted to create a situation where Sema was humbled and lost everything, then they should have made it like that. What's his name? Proust?
Proust. Yeah.
They should have made it like he was embezzling and they arrested him and everything went down.
Yes. That actually would probably be much more truthful.
There you go. But this is just ridiculous.
Because it's a little bit like I thought you were a together person. I thought you were a woman in your 50s. Like, being broke isn't, like, you're a pretty established person. And Brooke's like, well, maybe she didn't save any money. But I'm like, then talk about that. Like that was a very real thing that happened when Carrie couldn't buy her apartment after she and Aiden broke up the second time, which is that I think was a very real, like she never bothered to think about any of this and boom. And that happened. So I could see something like that with Sema too, where it's much more of the embezzling is a great idea because it's out of her control.
Yeah. And I feel like there's two types of writers. Like some writers talk about this, like they'll write a character and the character takes them where they need to go, right? Like, so they're writing Carrie and they're like, you know, they eventually get to a plot that seems feasible for the character of Carrie that they've written so far. But like Michael Patrick King does, he reverse engineers it, and he starts with like, we need to have Aidan split his pants in the theater. How do we get there?
Yeah.
And it's so bad. And then it feels forced because you're forcing characters into this. Like you can do stuff like that, but it needs to be big picture. Like you can say, you know, we need to have big out of the picture somehow.
Yeah.
So let's write towards that. And then you write towards it. But you don't like these little things. Like Sema needs to, this is all about Sema needs to fuck that gardener. Oh, can I curse? I can curse, right?
Of course, yeah.
Sema needs to fuck the gardener.
Oh, yeah.
That's where they're getting.
Yes.
So it's like we need to bring her down a couple pegs so that she'll sleep with this grunge, very cute in my opinion, landscaper or whatever the hell he is. And so why not? Like, why do we have to jump through all these hoops to get there? Yeah. Just have her be like, he's hot and I'm going to bang him. That's it.
Yeah.
It's so wild what they're doing.
It is. And it's funny too that they're using something that's a bit similar to what Samantha went through. Right. With Smith. I mean, the same thing and that was such a perfect thing where she meets this younger guy who was like, I'm not going to put up with your crapola, but I'm going to be there for you. Right. And is really shows up for her. And so now it's like, are we going to do this all over again? You know? And it's like, so now the idea is Sema's so fancy and so up here that she can't possibly date the super hot gardener. I mean, I'm sorry, but I think anybody would be like, you know, why would you think he was a loser just because he's a gardener or he works with his hands?
Exactly. He's cute. And he's really cute. And
he's got two businesses. He started a business in high school and he's got another one.
And I feel like Sema doesn't belong. And that's a problem.
Yeah, I'm with you.
You know, like they try to force her with Carrie. It's not working for me. Carrie, who was just a total bitch last episode to Miranda, living with her, which was crazy.
Yeah.
But they try to force her. It's just, she doesn't like LTW and Charlotte blend so nicely together. I'm not getting that with Sema. Like we're running around trying to put her in somewhere and she's not working.
She's not, because none of it feels true and none of it feels like, I mean, even Samantha didn't feel real before. I mean, right. Because Samantha was in many ways, right. Was kind of like a gay man, you know, and so that didn't feel quite real, but Kim Cattrall is such an amazing actress and so good at it and did such an amazing job of giving this character such kindness and humanity and all of these things that, and again, I'm not saying that the woman who plays Sema isn't a good actress. It's just like she is lost, you know, in some sort of scene. And so there's this scene of her where she has to give up the driver in the car and she's playing this Diana Ross like song. And then
I actually liked that part. I was like, okay, I like a little Diana Ross and like we don't hear real music a lot on this show. So I really enjoyed it. I was like, okay, this is how low the bar is. You're like, okay, I don't hate this scene with the Fire of a Thousand Suns.
So yeah, and she has this very dramatic and like leaving and goodbye and I'm off to the next thing. And her main plot line of this, and we can talk more about when we get to Miranda, it was really about helping Miranda find an apartment. And then basically now she has to take the train. You know, her life is so horrible
that she can't figure out that path
train to New Jersey. And again, you know, all these people coming to this funeral, like, okay. It's just all of these weird things to get all these people that don't feel like they would all be hang out.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, it's exhausting. All right. So that's pretty much Sema, but I am very frustrated. I wish they would do something different with her. I really do.
Either need to completely get rid of her Or, well, there's 3 options. They need to lean into, if they're going to make her Samantha, then make her Samantha.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Don't give us this half-hearted effort where it's obvious you're doing that, but like you're not wanting to.
Mm-hmm.
Or they just need to completely rewrite her. But
yeah,
she's not working the way she is. Not at all.
Yeah. No. All right. So let's talk about, you want to go to Miranda? Let's go to Miranda for a second. Okay. So Miranda, I don't know. I'm on the fence about Joy. I don't know if I find Joy joyous. I mean, I like her dry sense of humor, but I'm a little bored. Like
I like her.
You do? Okay.
For Miranda.
Yes.
I think Miranda needs a boring nerd. Because Miranda's kind of a boring nerd. And that takes one to know one. I'm a boring nerd, so I get it. But I think Joy and Miranda are a good couple. My fear is, are they going to be able to carry this? Like, we don't need Steve to come back. Oh, dear Lord, please no.
God. I can't see Steve licking his hand. Please.
We don't. Oh, God. Keep him out there on Long Island or Coney Island or wherever he is. We don't need Che Diaz. Dear God.
Oh, God.
Please don't bring them back.
No.
And I could do it less Brady. So that just really leaves Miranda that I can tolerate out of that whole arm of the family. And so, like, are her and Joy enough to carry it? Like, if this was a serious show, they could say, well, let's explore what it looks like when you fall in love later in life, but also with someone you work with.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, what are some of the challenges around that? Because when you're an adult, you meet a lot of people at work.
Yeah.
So, like, what does that look like? Maybe. I don't know. They have opportunities, but I don't know if they'll take them because it's not funny enough.
It's interesting because I thought there would be a little bit more of the will they, won't they with Joy stuff. Yeah. And I thought we were going to see Miranda dating a lot more.
Yeah.
Right? Because isn't that the whole idea is now she's single. And so let's see her date. And let's see her date women and sort of this new life.
So her dating history is JDS. And Rosie O'Donnell as a nun.
Wasn't she genius, though? Wasn't Rosie O'Donnell amazing?
She was good in that role. But Rosie O'Donnell can act.
She was so good.
She was good because she can act.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, and so, that's the whole thing. And it's like, bring Rosie back. Like, that was some real humanity and kindness. And I love that character. I really did. But Joy, and I can understand the whole thing of like, again, someone who had children, someone who didn't have children. And I do think that you're right, that Joy makes sense for Miranda because Miranda was a reluctant parent. Miranda wasn't Charlotte.
Miranda's not going to want to grab a baby out of a mother's arms in Target like I do. Like, she's just not that kind of person. She's going to be like, get that baby away from me.
Yeah. So I think that it made a lot of sense. Okay. And then this woman, has dogs and okay, I get that. I have dogs. So it makes sense. So that all of that makes a lot more sense. I didn't know what we were going to get with Brady. I was like, what version of Brady are we get?
Brady has met J. Diaz. So Brady's like, I'll literally take anyone else. Anyone.
Maybe he's just so great. Maybe he's just so happy she's not with Che anymore that he's
or
like,
his father. He's like, I can't even tolerate my own father.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Wasn't Brady working out there with him at the clam shack on Coney Island?
I thought he was working at Scout. He's working because we saw that quick scene of him making French fries or whatever.
Yes.
But what I think was interesting is I'm glad they didn't make Brady a jerk because I think that's the other thing of what they're showing us is kids mature tremendously in 3 years. Like, you know what I mean? Like, 16, 17-year-old Brady is not 20-year-old Brady. And 20-year-old Brady, I think would be more like this. Would be like, hey, what's up, Mom? What's going on? Okay, yeah, I'm going to meet this. Here's your dogs. Great. Hi. I mean, again, that's that amount of maturity that happens. Hopefully Charlotte's daughter Lily.
Aren't Lily and Brady supposed to be the same age? Somebody was telling me that they had them like within a couple months of each other. Lily was adopted in the movie, right? Was she adopted in the first movie?
She was adopted at the very end of the series. That was like the final series. They learned that they were going to have this. They got this baby. And Miranda, I mean, Brady's maybe a year and a half older. So you're right. Actually, Lily, why is Brady out working?
Lily's in Arrested Development. I don't know what's happening. That continuity person just, I don't know. I don't know. Hey, whatever.
So the big thing is Miranda needs to find a place to live. And her whole situation is so weird too, because I'm like, does she have money? Does she not have money? Is she like, she sold the brownstone with Steve. And
if they sold that house in Brooklyn, wasn't that Steve's mother's house?
No. They bought that. Remember?
Did they buy that?
Oh,
they moved her in.
They had to move her to Brooklyn because she couldn't afford the city.
Still, that was, in the Sex and the City timeline, that was what, 20 years ago they bought that house? 10 years ago, something? They made a pretty penny on it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So she should have money. And she's been a lawyer for how long?
Yes. And she's always been very smart with money, which is why this whole thing about, so Sema finds the perfect listing for her, like a silent whisper listing.
Yes.
And she basically said, listen, give them 150 over asking and it's yours. And Miranda's like, oh no, I don't do that. And it was a little bit like, listen, where I am, especially in California, that is the standard. The standard is no one ever goes in on asking. Very rarely, like you have to give something over. You do. And so it was very surprising to me that you've been in New York a long time, Miranda. You know how this works.
I have a hot take here.
Okay. What's your hot take?
I would not have done it out of principle.
You would not offer that
Nope.
150 extra. Oh,
no,
really?
Not out of principle. No. Timmy and I did this. We bought a house. It was up for auction. It was a crazy auction. We offered the asking price. We kind of knew the guy. So the guy was like, well, we want to give it to you, but do you want to go over? Like, I have offers that are over. I was like, no, not one penny. You list it for what you want. And if you don't want to take and I live in Scranton, Pennsylvania, the real estate here is ridiculously cheap. And I understand that. But I hate capitalism so much. I could not do this. I could not do this.
I am with you 150%. Like, I hate capitalism. I hate what's going on in our country right now. I hate so much of what's happening.
Yes.
Absolutely. And there's just something about like, yeah, I get that. But I just feel like, why wouldn't she negotiate or be like, that's a lot to ask over asking. I don't really want to pay over asking. Like,
I'm also coming from the point of view of somebody who's never had money. So if I had that kind of money, like over asking money, let's call it, because the house we were bidding on, to be clear, was like $120,000. And the guy was like, can you go to 125? I'm like, no, we literally don't have $125,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I had like that kind of fuck you money where I could do it, maybe I would feel differently, but wow.
It's hard to explain, but because there's not every part of California, but there's certain parts of California, Bay Area being one of them, where it is such a standard that that whatever somebody is listing something for, people are going to start bidding. And out here, what happens is they purposely do it low. So a lot of people will come and get interested. And then they start offer. And again, is it the right way of doing it? No, but it's sort of been the standard. So it was just a little surprising to hear. And again, they needed to do that for a plot point so that she then,
thinking about the show, you're right. Miranda would know this.
Yeah,
absolutely. Amye Archer in Scranton, Pennsylvania would not know this.
Yeah.
Miranda Hobbs would know this.
Well, and also I thought, oh, this is interesting. So is this going to be about her and Sema working together? See, that's interesting. Like, Carrie was worried about the two of them being together. Carrie didn't want worlds colliding. And so now it is. Which happens if Sema goes back to Carrie and is like, I told her 150 over asking. It's a whisper listing, because obviously Sema's annoyed, which, I mean, she I used all my connections to get you this place that's perfect. I'm telling you what it is. And now again, I would assume as a real estate agent, this is par for the course, right? Like, this happens a lot, but.
So my sister recently bought a place in Brooklyn and it is cutthroat out there, even trying to find a realtor. To help you. Okay. The fact that Carrie is buddy with this top realtor in New York City and basically told Miranda, oh, well, you're on your own. I can't risk Sema getting mad at me was unbelievable to me. Unbelievable. Yeah. Like, what are you talking about? You've been friends with Miranda for they reference living together in the 90s. So there you go. And you're going to let your friend just struggle when you know this realtor? It was weird to me.
Yeah, I know. I thought all of that was odd. I mean, I could see it more of being like, okay, listen, I just, can we make some ground rules, or can we talk about this?
Or just say to Sema, heads up, she's difficult.
Yeah.
Like,
or
whatever.
like, hey, can we all make this nice, or I'm not going to get involved, or whatever it is. Yeah, that's one thing about to jump over to Carrie for a second. That's one thing about this season that I think is weird, is that Carrie's kind of like, before she was very selfish and self-involved, but now she's just a bitch.
She's a bitch.
She's mean.
Yes.
And we'll get to it with the broken glass and stuff, but the whole stuff last time, and it's funny to hear everybody's takes, because everyone has different takes. There's some people that are like, well, yeah, you're staying with someone. Wouldn't you go to the store and get your own yogurts? And then there's the other one of like, she's staying with you. Wouldn't you, it's New York. You can go get another yogurt. Like,
or you say something like, I hope you're enjoying my last yogurt. Ha ha ha. Just kidding. I'll go get some for the house. No big deal. Like, you let her kind of know about it, but you also let her know it's not a big deal. And I'm going to go to the store and I'm going to get 15 yogurts.
Yeah.
And we'll all have enough.
Yeah.
So stupid.
I know the whole thing was very weird. Like,
it was mean
for these two friends. I don't think, and obviously they had to make it so that Miranda would leave. Like, they needed that piece of it. But why couldn't it be something else? It's just,
why couldn't it be like Miranda didn't love the fact that Aidan was coming and going and coming and going?
That's
and
a great idea.
She was inconvenienced and this and that, like something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or that Joy was coming over with the dogs and the dogs were chasing the cat and they couldn't, you know what I mean?
Oh, that's a great idea. You're
coming
up with some great ideas.
Anything but Carrie turns into a total bitch over a yogurt.
Yes. Yeah. But that's what it seems like. And I get that they were trying to sort of show how you get to a certain age, you get set in your ways, especially if you're single and you live alone and you have this kind of life. But again, I think that, what I was saying in terms of the Miranda stuff is I have a son, you have kids, like, I never get leftovers. I don't attach myself to a yogurt.
No.
Like, you can't. It's dog eat dog when you have teenagers.
Like, when I have enough food to make for me and Timmy, and then the girls announce they're staying home, and I'm like, guess Mama's not eating tonight because I'm going to give them my food.
Yes.
You don't. Yes. I have to hide my crumble cookie at the back of the fridge behind, like, medicine. So they don't take it.
I know. That's the worst, when you have to hide things and then they find it and you're like, oh.
Yes.
So anyway, so essentially Sema then shows her another listing, which also is perfect, but because it's a condo, there would be no dogs. And so Miranda, now that Joy has said that they're girlfriends, she's like, well, I need to, I'm going to bid. I'm going to do the 150 over asking.
Yeah. That's a lot of money over asking, because she's probably paying $1.5 million?
Probably,
is she in Manhattan?
Maybe more. But I'm just telling you, like, there have been properties out here. It's not so bad now. Things have changed, obviously. But when my husband and I were looking for a house in 2015, people would overbid 40%.
I can't. This is where I really struggle with capitalism.
My husband and I, we only overbid by 10%. And our realtor was like, I can't believe they said yes.
I know.
She was like, 10%, I know. And that was a coup. I mean, and and so I don't know if 150 is probably 10%, of what it is, or maybe a little bit less than that. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what an apartment like that goes for.
Well, I'll tell you, my sister has maybe 600 square feet in Bushwick, which is a up and coming area. We all know what that means.
Yes.
And she paid almost $1 million for it. So
I can believe it.
Yeah.
I can believe it. Listen,
so this is at least $2 million. If we're on the Upper East Side over there, probably 3.
Yeah. 2 or 2.5, something like that. So 150 is not that much when you really think about it.
No. But yeah, you're right.
Anywho, okay, so let's go to, I want to talk about Charlotte. What are you thinking about this Charlotte in the obviously we now know why Harry peed himself and had, and I was really like, you and I were texting like justice for Harry, because this is so uncool. And so once this storyline happened, I was like, oh, okay, now this makes a lot more sense. And I think that it is a very real and true storyline where it is very, very common. Many men get prostate cancer. I cannot tell you how many men I know. And you get to a certain age and this is what happens.
Yeah.
And so it's not surprising. And again, I knew that we were going to get to this point of Charlotte eventually kind of breaking down, but I would just think that Charlotte would have turned to him at some point and said, hey, I got to talk about this. Like, I cannot keep this a secret.
I was irate that he asked her to do that. I could see saying to her, I don't want to tell the kids yet. Fine. But how dare you tell me I can't talk about the scariest, worst thing in my life with somebody I trust? As a therapist, that must have blown your mind.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was, I'm not surprised that Harry said it because of that, you know, and I don't talk a lot about this, but I am a cancer survivor myself and I've been through this and I know what it's like. And I was not someone who told a ton of people, but I also recognized that the people in my life were going to tell people and that was just how it is. And listen, people, you know, sent me cards, you know, people send you things and everyone's very hands off. Like people do not get up in your business about this stuff.
Yeah.
Except for my sister who was like, wait, what? You know, Brooke being Brooke. But, you know, so that what bugged me about that was I just feel like, you know, the two of you are supposed to be this like great couple. You're very connected. You know, she has these best friends that have been through all of this. You've been with these women for, you know, 20 plus years now, Harry. So to say to her, no, you can't tell anyone. Like, I just know, you know, my mom needed to talk about it. You know, what was going on with me, she had to talk to her friends. And I was just like, that's fine. I personally didn't want people, I didn't want to have to like deal with these relationships myself.
It doesn't fit with Harry's behavior, like his character.
No,
Harry
it doesn't.
loves Charlotte.
Yes.
If Harry does nothing else, at the end of the day, he adores and loves Charlotte.
Yeah.
You think he would want her to feel supported. Harry's not somebody who's selfish.
Yeah.
He doesn't think about himself before Charlotte. Do you know what I mean? So I can see him being like, I don't want to tell the kids, or maybe I don't want it to get all through our friend group.
Yes.
But, you know, I totally would not blame you if you want to tell your girls, like meaning Carrie and Miranda.
Yeah, or LTW. I mean, she can't even tell her friend anything that's going on.
It's crazy.
And it's I mean, that none of that doesn't make a lot of sense. But anyway, and then they do this scene where Charlotte runs to him and she's like, Harry, you know, when she hears about LTW's dad, she's like, we have to be together. And it's this very similar scene that we saw in Sex and the City of the baseball game. He's wanting to watch a baseball game. And I understand that she was feeling emotional in that moment. But again, if this was my husband and I wouldn't be interrupting, getting in his face if he was enjoying a baseball game. You know what I mean? I would just like, okay, we'll talk about it later.
Imagine this scene being written like she comes in, she's upset, she like, you know, we have a little back and forth where she's maybe trying to talk to him, then realizing she shouldn't, but then she has to, then she does. And she's dumping it on him. And he eventually has to like pause the game. Because guess what, guys? We have live pause available on most televisions. Yeah. So maybe he pauses the game and says, look, I can't think that way. I need you to stay positive for me. Like, that's what I count on you to be, my Pollyanna. I need that from you. Like, that would have been so much a richer scene.
Yes.
Than what we got.
And then couldn't she then say, then I need to talk to my friends. Yes. I cannot be a Pollyanna for you if I do not have an outlet for any of this.
Yes, absolutely.
And
absolutely.
There you go. Yep. And so then it doesn't have to be about adult diapers, you know, and all of that at the end. But so basically at the very end, the last scene is, and again, which is so weird because Charlotte's like, well, I'm down here buying these diapers because I don't want anyone to know. And I'm like, well, your friend lives in this neighborhood, right? So why would you go to the place that's right around the corner from your friend's house?
I will say,
conspicuous.
But again, Michael Patrick King, it's the tail wagging the dog.
Yes,
he probably needs her to break down in Carrie's arms. Then why did we have that stupid Bitsy scene or whatever? Why not have Carrie run into her on the street outside Sloan Medical and she starts crying and it happens there?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
or she breaks down to Bitsy. She breaks down to Bitsy and Bitsy tells somebody and it starts getting around and Harry's pissed. And I mean, that feels much more authentic of like, how much do you share? Because I think that as couples, right? I'm sure you and Timmy have gone through this too, where it's like, maybe you have something going on with your kids and it's a little bit like, you know, one partner may share more and share more to other people about what's going on.
I tell everybody everything. Timmy really struggles with this.
And so I'm sure there are times where he kind of feels like, you know, I didn't know. No. I don't want more people to know. And I think that's a very real thing. But again,
her sobbing in Carrie's arms at the end, I was like, this is what this show does well. More of this. Lean into this.
The friendship, the relationships.
These women are friends. The actresses are probably friends. That comes through on screen. This felt like a genuine moment. I loved it.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm saying, like, less of the hijinks comedy and more of this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would be okay.
Yeah. Yeah. No. And it really, I mean, it was very, like, she really just let go. You could feel how much she had been holding on.
I'm like, what is happening?
All right. So let's talk about LTW, because what I thought was interesting, and they talked about this in the writer's room, was, so they introduced Marion, who is not a woman, is a very hot man, younger guy. And so she obviously is developing like this work crush. And so Michael Patrick King had a real problem with it. I mean, apparently he thought this was a weird storyline. Like, why would, they have such a perfect marriage. Why would this happen? And I was like, and one of the other women, I think it was Susan Fales Hill, who I think wrote the episode, she says, no, because again, I'm happily married. And at the same time, you are also like, oh, whoa, what would happen if I slept with that person? What would happen if I had an affair with that person?
Yes.
What would happen? Like, you look at other people. It doesn't mean you're going to act on it, but you get crushes. And this happens. I hear it as a therapist. I heir it all the time.
I have a crush on Bob Durst. God. No, I really don't.
So that's what I was like, God, Michael Patrick King, you really don't understand. You don't understand women, and you don't understand women who have been married for a long time.
I have more of a problem with, again, the tail wagging the dog, that they want LTW to have some sort of temptation. So they make her hire a man for a documentary about women of color. Makes me irate. Like, her instincts were like, well, I really should hire women. Yes. Yes, you should. What are you doing? Like, bring him in to consult if he's so fucking awesome. You know what I mean? But
yeah, I mean, he could be a different character for sure.
Yes, he could be like a distributor or something. I don't know, film things.
Yeah. No, I mean, he could be a producer. He could work for the network. He could work, what is it? She sold it to PBS or, you know, something like, she could be why can't he be part of PBS and all of that? Yeah.
It just sends, it's like the university I used to work for named a new head, like department chair of women's studies, and it was a white guy. I was like, are you kidding me right now? I want to burn the place to the ground. Like, this is the problem. This is the problem. And her instincts were right, but she overrode them to go with Marion.
Yeah. Yeah. I know.
So I had more of a problem with that than the work crush thing. The work crush thing felt totally reasonable to me. I love that scene where she told Charlotte about it. Like, that's how girlfriends talk.
Yes.
That felt genuine to me.
Yes. And I don't know. I mean, again, they had to make this, of course, gorgeous guy. It's like, wouldn't it be a little bit more interesting if he was attractive, like good looking, but not maybe more her age? And, you know, and we've seen Herbert be so terrible to her.
Oh, Herbert's like a big old baby.
He is.
Jesus.
And so, you know, I could see how she might be really annoyed with him. And then, you know, this guy comes in and, you know, maybe at first she wasn't like, oh my God, he's so hot, but now he's showing up for me and he's doing these things that, that my husband isn't giving me because again, you can't get everything from one person. And that's the thing. That's what happens. That's how people end up having affairs. That's how people end up, you know, having these work crushes. Is there's something missing and it's not your it's not always your partner's fault, you know, that you want something. And I think that, right. Obviously she's looking for someone to connect with when it comes to her own work. Because Herbert's always about himself.
Yeah,
so.
No, I totally get this, especially being a writer. Like, if you're a creative, I remember I would go to residency twice a year, my MFA program, and it's like you're immersed in a world of other people who are writers. There's an attraction to that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you're around like-minded people, something that maybe your spouse doesn't get. So I totally understand them being swept up in it. I wish it was a woman editor on this project.
Yeah. So then she gets, LTW gets an Evite to her father's funeral, homecoming, or homegoing. And she just flips out and hands down this is when I thought the show was at its best. Jenifer Lewis. My God. Is she amazing? The minute I saw her in that restaurant, I was like, yes.
I love her.
And those scenes with her were brilliant. Genius.
I agree.
Like, and that's comedy. That's the kind of comedy we want to see.
The woman who plays LTW, I apologize, I don't know her name.
Parker.
Yeah. She's a great actress too. Mm-hmm. So the two of them together, I was like, this is a well-acted scene.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And really well done. And just the fact that how Jenifer Lewis plays this character, Lucille, like she is so great and she's perfect. And, she has some great lines and I thought it made a lot of sense, which is there are two women that are battling it out for, the father's love and attention. And Lucille feels like this is my domain and LTW feels like this is my domain. And, and I think that that's exactly what happens in funerals and wakes and stuff like that, where it becomes a bit of like, who gets to grieve the most, who gets that. And the fact that she said, over the years, your father always said to me, don't bother her. Don't bother her. Don't bother her. And I think she probably felt like LTW thinks she's better than me. She's, okay, so I really cared about this man. This is my theater. I'm going to do this. And it made complete sense all the while. Like she's giving the stink eye to the waitress. She's like, this key lime pie is going downhill. I mean, the Michael Kors bags.
Perfect.
Busting out with a microphone out of that Michael Kors bag.
Well, okay. So let me ask you this. Did you find the timing of this LTW stuff weird? Like it seemed to go so fast. Like supposedly she was so close to her father who died very suddenly.
He's 90 though.
Right. But he died very suddenly. And she just like seems to be okay with it in like a day or two. And I just thought that didn't ring true to me. Or am I missing, was there more time in between that I didn't?
She's okay with that Lucille would take over the funeral?
No, that she's like not upset anymore about her dad. Like she seems to be okay. Like I wanted to see more of, because they really made it a point. They introduced it for a reason that she put her phone on silent and this happened, right? Yes. They wanted her to feel guilty or to kind of talk about the duality of being a working mother. And you know what I mean? I think there's a lot there to mine.
Yes.
Because how many of us, put our phone on silent and then something happens with our kids? Like my dad said to me, my sister's 50, I'm 48. And he said to me the other day, I finally put my phone on silent overnight. Like I feel like you guys are in a good place and I could shut my phone off at night. Yeah. Like all parents know that feeling. And I guess I just wanted to see her kind of wrestle with that a little bit more. Maybe we will next episode. I doubt it. It's probably in the rearview mirror and we're going forward. I mean, your father's died twice now, so she's used to it.
Yeah, I don't know. I just felt like it felt like the subtext of what's going on of her feeling this guilt. But to me, I feel like it would have been, and this is what bugs me about the show, is that there's the problem. Okay, we fixed it. Now they're over it. And that's not really how life is. I would think that she would feel guilty one minute and then the next minute she's sort of centered again. And okay, I'm better about this. Guilty one minute. And even the scene with Lucille where Lucille makes the comment about her not being there. And she says, I went too far. Like, she's about to pick up her bag. It's like, that's very real.
And I think she does talk about it when she calls Charlotte, right? She does say like, I wasn't
and
there.
Charlotte says to, exactly what a good friend would say, which is like, your father, that's not, please don't.
You know what I would have done, Tess? I would have went home and misdirected that anger right at Timmy. And I would have been like, I can't do this all. Like, you need to help me. Because that husband of hers, he called her out of a meeting to ask if he was cool.
I know.
Remember that?
I know.
He's a big baby. He can't do anything.
He is a big baby.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what was going on when he came into the editing suite. I was like, what's going to happen? Like, I thought, is he going to beat up Marion? Like, what's going on here?
Right.
But, and the funeral was very much like, I've never seen Pippin, so I did not know, but like, know, the Pippin stuff and all of that. I mean, the campiness of it all.
It was cute.
It was good. I liked it. But again, then there's all the Aidan stuff with his pants. It's just like,
that drove me crazy. Like here again, this should be LTW scene. Why are we making it about Sarah Jessica Parker? Why are we making it about Aidan? This is her scene.
Yeah.
Well,
but they always have to do these group scenes, and I understand they want to get the group together, but again, it felt like, why couldn't it just be Charlotte that would come to the funeral, which to me makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
That Charlotte would be the only one to come. It was LTW's thing, maybe she's going back and forth with Lucille on the arrangements. But I was just a little annoyed that, like, I knew the minute she got up and started speaking, I'm like, oh, she's going to have a problem. She's going to start feeling guilty, and this is what's going to come out.
Yep.
And again, I don't think that's what would have come out. I just don't. I think that it would be a bit more of a, maybe breaking down, maybe people seeing her cry, ugly cry. I don't know. I don't know.
I agree.
You probably have a better idea than I do.
It was an odd choice to make it about Aidan splitting his pants.
Yes.
That's it.
All right. So let's get to Carrie and Aiden. So so the first scene in the show is Carrie having dinner with Duncan in his apartment, and they're having mutton stew. And what do you think of Duncan?
I like Duncan. I'm into Duncan. He's a moody writer. I'm totally into him. Yeah, I'm into him. I like him a lot. I do want to clear something up from a few episodes ago, though, about Aidan and Carrie that you and Brooke struggled with.
Okay, what's that?
I live in ATV country up here.
Yes.
Quad country. Yes. It is almost impossible to take somebody who's never driven a quad before, put them on one, and send them 2 miles down the road to a store. Okay. You're risking their life. It's stupid.
Really?
Yes. Okay. It's dumb. Okay. Like, she would have to take this quad on street roads, which people do all the time, but it is not legal and it's very dangerous. Just last weekend up here, somebody died. Their quad hit a car on the road. It's very dangerous. An experienced ATV rider might be able to pull this off, but Sarah Jessica Parker, first time ever on one? No.
Well, again, but you're right about the tail wagging the dog, which is because I remember in the writer's room, they talked about this, and they talked about how Michael Patrick King just wanted to see Sarah Jessica Parker get on an ATV, a bright red cherry ATV. He said that. He was like, and then when she got on the thing.
Is he just in a fever dream throwing stuff at a wall?
Yeah. I think he thinks about in what ways do I want to see Sarah Jessica Parker do things? Yeah. And then I'm going to write backwards.
I just struggle with, to get back to your original question, I struggle with Sarah Jessica Parker in any relationship. She's just not one of my favorite people at all. Like, I guess she'd be fine with Duncan, but I liked her with Big, because that seemed to match. I hate Aidan, even though I love John Corbett. Yeah. So I feel terrible saying that, and I used to be Team Aidan, but this is terrible.
Me too. Yeah. And these days, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with Aidan.
What does he do for a living that he has that much money?
He has a ton of money and tons of time.
He doesn't seem to work.
Tons of time. No. Yeah. Well, all of it. I mean, just the farm and flying back and forth. Yeah. All of it's crazy. So we learn that so this is what I wanted to know, which is, would someone like Duncan want someone like Carrie to read the first chapter of his book?
No.
And I understand the plot point they had to do was he's writing a book about a woman, so he needs a woman.
Okay, so, maybe.
But again, wouldn't Duncan have a female writer in his life or an editor that he trusts that he would give the chapter to?
Maybe he would. Now that you say it like that, I forgot that he asked her for the female perspective. I have been in a situation where I've written from a male point of view and I've been like, but they are two. Listening to Michael Patrick King saying that these are two intellectual giants.
Yes.
And we need to make sure that we know their world is. Look, I'm sure Carrie is a great writer, but she writes a different type of thing.
Yes.
Than this man who is writing an autobiography of Margaret Thatcher. Or biography, I'm sorry, of Margaret Thatcher. They're two very different things. She's writing a weekly column for, like, what was the magazine she was writing for?
Oh, the New York Star?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Like, I wouldn't consider Carrie's a good writer. She's better than me. Fine. But, like, she's not on the same level with this guy. Let's put it that way. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and because it's two very different genres, different ways of doing it.
Listening to her voiceover with that terrible, the woman sat on the train and fixed her skirt and waved. Like, I don't want to read that book that she's saying out loud there. It sounds terrible.
Yeah, no, the book does not sound interesting at
like,
all.
why are you saying the woman? The woman, the woman, the woman. What's your character's name?
I don't know. I mean, maybe that's the whole thing. We don't ever know the person's name.
Terrible.
That's part
it's
of
terrible.
it. She's really struggling here. So we learn that Aiden's coming out. So he's putting Wyatt on a plane. He's going to this wilderness. And so
were you like, oh my God, is he going to one of those like,
oh God, I know,
kid camps?
I don't know. Well, he basically, and they had to make it so that Wyatt is, John Corbett can go up there guilt free, which again, I don't think that would be bad to make him feel a little guilty about like, I forced my kid to go into this thing. And because I really wanted, because I was kind of sick of him and I wanted to go and enjoy my life. I think that's a much more natural parenting guilt.
Well, situation. And it's also an interesting thing, like parents who parent, challenging kids for whatever reason they're challenging. I mean, you need a fucking break.
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe we should have let him feel that a little bit. Like, I just needed a break. And this thing came up and we vetted it and it seemed great and we're sending him.
Yeah. And then maybe you feel terrible that you forced them on the plane. Like, I don't know. I don't know what it is. But
the day your kids are born, you just feel guilty till your death.
That's and you worry and you feel guilty and it's never going to change. Yeah. So you just accept that
it ends the day you lay your head down on your final pillow.
Yes. Or maybe when your kids are 48 and 50, you finally rest. So we see Aidan picking up pebbles and throwing it at the window. And then of course he throws this rock through the window and it's like this big, oh no moment. And then Carrie, and I'm sorry to use these words, was so cunty, bitchy, mean.
She was like, mean.
And then it was so weird. It was like, you are being an asshole. You were being so mean to him. And then she immediately starts backtracking. It's like,
and out of one side of her mouth, she's like, you can't fix this. It's not fixable. A rainbow comes through there. And it's, it's glass that has survived 1 million years or whatever. And then on the other hand, she's like, let's just call somebody to fix it. What is it?
Yes.
I would trust Aidan to fix it over some random person.
Yes.
Because he would at least understand and put the attention into it.
Yeah.
And then they're going to go to Scranton.
Well,
and I think they're thinking of Old Good Things, which is a pretty famous antique store here, which is also run by a cult headquartered here, which is the Kobu, the Christ of Brother Unite something. It's the cult that Aaron Martin's parents were in, that she talks about a lot.
Oh,
yes, Kobu. Yep.
Got it. Okay. Yep.
They run it right here out of Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Wow.
So we don't go to Old Good Things because there's child labor and shit. So let's do some research on that, Michael Patrick King.
Well, but the other thing is, it'd be great if he showed up there. Aiden's in a cult. Just go to Scranton to deprogram him to get him back. That
solved the Aidan problem.
Yeah.
Gone.
But all of those things she's saying to him, he feels terrible.
They're terrible.
And we've all been there where someone did, and you as an adult, what you do is even if you're seething inside, you accept it. All of those things are things that she should be saying to Miranda and Charlotte at the coffee shop. Like, Tucker and I can't
you're right. You're right.
Get it out there. And then you're like, okay, moving on. But yeah, it was just, so that's what bugged me, was like, you're so mean to him and he's already being beaten up. He already feels low and you don't quite know what's going on, but he's already feeling this way.
Well,
and then
if nothing else, he put his kid on a plane.
Yeah.
Like he would be feeling bad about that. Like have some empathy for this guy.
Yeah. And it was an accident. So that's the part that just it was just like, how did you think he was then going to respond to you?
I don't know.
It was bizarre. Just so weird. And then this whole thing of, he's like, don't feel bad at me. Don't feel bad for me. Like he's very much like, what is going, he doesn't want her to be near him. And it's revealed, he goes to Scranton, he gets glass, he gets way too much. And he basically ends up telling her, I slept with Kathy. And, I ruined everything. So tell me what do you think about this?
Well, I think.
And do you feel sorry for Bob?
I kind of was digging Bob's vibe. I'm not gonna lie. Here's the thing. I would feel way more upset and threatened by Timmy sleeping with his ex-wife, who is the mother of his children, who he recently divorced, than just some rando in a bar. Like, so that I feel like if I were Carrie, I would not just overlook this. I would be like, well, maybe you and Kathy need to figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
Because they're still very much connected. Beyond just having children together. There are many people I know who have children together and live have separate marriages and have remarried and everything is fine. But they're still really enmeshed, and that would worry me.
Yes.
That they're going to get back together.
I mean, I'm a child of divorce. You're a child of divorce. Yep. Once my parents divorced, we were not celebrating birthdays.
No.
Like, especially with that few people. No. Maybe a big birthday, like there's 100 people here birthday.
Yeah.
And other events. But small, intimate dinners? No. Like, that really didn't happen. So you are right. They are still very enmeshed. I mean, the way they talked about it in the writer's room is, to them, it made perfect sense that the two of them would sleep together.
No.
And it was just like, really? Like, again, I've been in that moment. Having sex with someone is the last thing you really want to do. You just kind of want to curl up into a ball and cry, because it is so emotionally overwhelming and exhausting. And you kind of hate your partner, because you kind of, you're not loving them in that moment. You're both feeling really like, what is going on here?
I agree. And I would imagine, see, it's hard for me to fully understand this because I'm not divorced, like, with kids. I'm divorced, but I didn't have kids with that person. But I would, like, if I were divorced from Timmy and this was happening, I would be blaming Timmy. You bet your ass. I'd be in that car saying to him, like, I'd be blaming myself a little bit too. But again, I would be taking it out on him and blaming him. And I think I could see it leading to fighting.
Yeah.
Not leading to fucking, although Cody says those two things are right intertwined. F and F,
Yeah. Well, and one thing that's sort of lost from all of this is that I think that normally what would happen is Carrie would then go and gather everyone around and they would all talk about it and they would all present their different points of view, because there are different points of view. You can see this differently. And then I think that would then change, and she would maybe come back and say, okay, I've thought about this, but instead she says, I'm shocked and amazed, and I'm shocked that we've never talked about this before. And it's revealed that these two don't know if they can sleep with other people or not.
Yeah.
They never established.
Carrie's like, have you seen my downstairs neighbor? We need to clear this up real quick because things are progressing.
Yeah. So
you're absolutely right, though. What is missing is the debrief at the coffee shop.
Yes.
Which was always a thing. Absolutely. And that's where we see the different points of view. And that's where we hear Carrie's inner thoughts on it. You're absolutely right. That's what's missing.
Yeah. And I think that Michael Patrick King and these other writers and producers would argue that this isn't who they are anymore. They can't just all rush off to the coffee shop. They can't, this isn't the life that they lead any longer. But I still maintain that that's what, even though you may be older, then maybe you're all on a call together, or maybe you're calling one of them. Maybe it's not that everyone can drop everything and go to the coffee shop right away, but if you have these kinds of relationships with women and they're still in your life, this is still what it's going to look like. It's not going to change.
This motherfucker asks us to suspend disbelief in so many ways in this series that he draws the line at these women would not have time in their schedule to meet at the coffee shop. Well, you know what? We're just going to suspend disbelief and tell ourselves they have time. How about that, Michael Patrick?
Yeah. Well, they all had time before. I mean, they all had big jobs except for Carrie.
You want us to believe Che Diaz is doing cameos in the bed with Miranda next to them, but they can't meet at the coffee shop? Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so again, it's so bizarre, so bizarre. But he then, he's like, I broke our trust, and go back and forth. Instead of the two of them saying, okay, we should probably talk about this and figure this out. No, we're going to go fuck.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And that's
But Sarah Jessica always keeping that bra on.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Yep.
And
can't get too risque.
Yeah. And that's another big thing with the show, which is, she talked about how, people who are comfortable with nudity can do nudity, and people who aren't comfortable with nudity, can't. But one thing that really bugs me about her is that she's never really acknowledged that the show called Sex and the City, that she really put a lot of that on the other women.
Yeah.
Like, we have never really seen, we've never seen, these other women have really had to do some things, and really put themselves out there. And again, I understand if you don't want to be naked, I get it. You don't have to be, but there's, she always gets to be demure. She always gets to be kind of prissy. And it's like, you write a sex column, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
it's
so
crazy.
odd.
She
It's
should have
so
been
odd.
writing a fashion column.
Yes, that would have made a
The
lot
sex
more
column
sense.
just wasn't like, she had that sex podcast and she couldn't even
Oh,
talk
God.
about it
Oh God, yeah, with Che and that whole thing
in a
was so
studio. And
ridiculous.
then because she wouldn't do an ad for vaginal dryness, like the whole network went under. Wow, that's what I'm saying. He expects us to believe that, but
Yeah.
draws the line at, well, you don't really think these three women could meet up for 15 minutes in the day, do you? Come on.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's just, I understand that whole idea of this is like, okay, we're going to take Sex in the City and we're going to break it. And that's what I was saying at the beginning of the season. I was like, I think I'm sort of starting to understand where we're going here, that they're trying to show us, just like they were showing us women in their 30s being single. You want to show us these same people at various, states of marriage and singledom and relationships and where they are in that day. And so let's do that. And when they do that, that's really interesting. And when they focus on the friendships, they focus on the relationship, that is where it really shines.
Yeah.
It's all this other BS.
I agree with you.
It really hard to stomach. So that's the thing, is like why I have such a hard time with the show is there are these really great moments and very smart and very interesting. And then you get the scene of like, of Anthony and Giuseppe in the bread thing. And you're like, why? But they all think this is so great. They think they need this. They think that they need this. And
that's what I'm saying. Like, this episode was better to me because it was more dramatic than funny. They can't do the funny. They don't do it well.
Yeah.
But also, it's unrealistic too to feel like these relationships have not changed in 20 years, like the friendships. And that would have been an easy way to bring in extra characters instead of what they did, which was a disaster. Like, maybe Charlotte and LTW, like, maybe they have been close for the last 10 years. Do you know what I mean? And Charlotte just doesn't have much in common with Carrie anymore. Because why would she? And they drifted apart. So, like, there's just so much they could have done.
Yeah.
And they just stuck to like this weird, we want the core pieces to stay in place, but everything else to change and everybody else to be okay with it. I don't know. It was weird.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you're absolutely right with LTW. Like, for example, why can't Carrie get jealous that Charlotte's spending all this time with LTW, and because they have kids and they're talking about all this stuff and she feels left out? I mean, that's a very natural, normal thing that happens in relationships and friendships and all of these pieces.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just makes,
we can't fix it all here.
No,
Tess.
we cannot.
We're just gonna have to pull a Sean Robinson and leave that here for now.
Yeah. So the last things, the scene with Charlotte's the last thing, but we see Aidan runs into Duncan and he's like, oh shit, this is the guy that's below. He's not some nerdy, he's a nerdy writer, but he doesn't look like one. And okay. And so this kind of leaves this big giant question mark. Again, we still don't know if these two if they can sleep with other people. We know nothing.
And we get it that he is British. Like, he literally just lives in a hobbit cave, drinks tea, eats mutton stew. Like, this guy, they just are so one-dimensional with these things.
Yeah. Like, yeah. Oh, that this is like, of course, a serious writer would only, this is how a serious writer would be.
Yeah.
Or would act.
Yeah. Yep. It's ridiculous.
And what can we're going to wrap up, I swear. But like, what did you think about the whole shoe thing? That shoe thing with him, I thought that, well, of course, what's hilarious is you bought this home that I'm sure cost you a good $5 million.
And it came with the renter.
And it came with a renter. And you forgot?
I know.
Didn't even think about it or anything. And then you have this house and with the shoes and all of that. And just the way she was, I can understand the feeling of, well, it's during the day. I want to be able to walk around, but
do you have to wear 6-inch heels?
Well, and why do you have to be such about it?
Yeah.
Such a jerk about it. And then your friends can't walk in their shoes, but you can. But you've got these runners and you're resentful that you got. It's like it's a martyr. It's a little bit of a martyr. Like,
she's ridiculous.
No. And then I'm going to do these things. Yeah. And then I'm going to resent you that I did them.
Yeah. She's ridiculous.
You know, and again, and it just, the other thing too is usually in these properties, people appreciate their renters because the renter is helping them with the mortgage.
Yes.
And you can tell that there's such privilege with some of this shit. With her, it's like, you don't even need this person. Like, you would get rid of him in a heartbeat if you could, but you can't because New York has such strict laws.
Yeah, and he's only there. What is he only there in the winters or in the summers?
Like
in the
6
summers?
months out of the year or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
These books. But
when he's living in his hobbit cave. Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Drinking his tea and worshiping Princess Di. I don't know what he's doing.
But it also seems weird that 6 months to do that. Like, I would think maybe 2 months or 3 months.
To write a book?
No, not necessarily to write the whole book, but I could see you getting into that Hobbit mode, but for 6 months straight, you have no, half the year you have no life.
Yeah.
And then you're parting the other year.
I don't know what's happening.
I don't know what's happening with the show. I love all of your suggestions and ideas. I think those are absolutely brilliant.
Here's the thing, Tess. As much as we hate the show, we don't want it to get better because then we'll have to like it. I have so much fun hate watching this and then listening to you guys and listening to other people talk about it. I'm enjoying it. It's some of the best comedy is listening to the pods just kind of breaking it down.
It's true, and that's what we say every week, because every week we're just like, God, we just rip on this thing and we're like, see you next week. We'll be back.
We all need this right now. Yeah. We need Cody Brown is off our screens. We need this.
Yes.
To just rally around and hate together.
I can handle this much more than I can handle Cody Brown. I towards the end of this last season, oh my God. I mean, I just was so done with him.
Oh my God. He's
done
the worst.
With him.
Mm-hmm.
And Robin. Mm-hmm. I wanted to reach through that screen. There is nothing that I hate more than lazy people and lazy entitled people. And someone to be like, well, I don't know. I don't care. You're on a reality show.
There's nobody I hate more than a victim. Like somebody who plays victim, a fake victim.
Yes. Yeah. But this is your job. This is your job. If you don't want to talk about these things, then don't go on the show.
Don't pay her.
Yeah. Then don't be there.
Mm-hmm.
But the casualness of it. Oh God.
I know.
I know. Pissed me off so much. So anywho, well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. I begged to come on.
No. This all worked out really well. We would love come back on, I think they have 10 episodes. You should come back on the 10th and we can wrap it all up and hate talk about it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I'm sure many people here already know about Amye and her podcast, but share with everybody where they can find you. Tell us all about your podcasts.
I'm at Little Miss Recap. You can find me anywhere on socials, and we're doing the McBee Dynasty. Have you gotten eyes on this yet?
I have not. I mean, a lot of very sexy goat.
They're problems, though. Yes, but they're problems.
Okay. So yeah, I have not started it, but that's a good one.
So we're doing that, and then I have a murder show podcast called Murder She Watched, and Tess will be there with me.
Yes,
occasionally, and we're going to be doing, for the first time ever, I'm doing The Staircase. On the Patreon over there. I've never watched The Staircase. I know nothing about it. I'm going in.
So are you doing all, because there's 13 episodes.
I think we're going to end up doing them all.
Yeah, like one individually,
by one. Like you and I did the Jinx.
Wow. Yeah. Yes. Okay. That's wow. Mm-hmm. So you have a Patreon for Little Miss Recap and a Patreon for
Murder She Watched.
Yep. Oh wow. Okay. Yep. I did not know that.
I'm busy.
Yeah.
I can't stop talking about TV. I just can't help it. And solving murders from my couch.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Amye, for joining us. Please, we too here at Psycholegal Pop, we have a Patreon. Go please check it out. You get all the shows ad free. You get a weekly bonus, and you get to hear Brooke say hello.
Hello.
And you can follow us on social media. We are on YouTube now. Woohoo! Here we are. And what else can I tell you? Please subscribe to the show. Give us a review. All those things help us tremendously. And thank you so much for tuning in. And we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.